Good evening, everybody. First of all, I am really sorry for the hour at which this broadcast is starting. we Obviously, I tweeted out the fact that I was going to be going to the library, which was absolutely a worthwhile trip. Unfortunately, I believe basically, I think the transit system in Vancouver has effectively abandoned any pretense of keeping to its schedules past a certain hour. So it's really common to just sit in a station and not know when the train's going to be moving again. So I'm very happy to have the monorail and or the SkyTrain as they call it, and just generally a transit system that allows me to go from the municipality that I'm in into downtown Vancouver on a somewhat regular trip. But the fact of the matter is the service leaves a lot to be desired. And there's actually a big transit referendum going on right now to give more financing to the company that runs it. But hey, Superior Blaze, sorry guys, I should just let you know that I'm only able to see chat now. So yeah, apologies for keeping you all up so late. But yeah, there's a referendum going on right now about this transit system. And certainly in my opinion, although I will note that I don't have the data that I should for this, and there are certain metrics that the company is using to say that it is one of the best run in North America. I think that's a bit overstating their case. But basically right now there's a referendum going on for this transit system to give them more financing, to expand service, and so on and so forth. And it's very likely that this referendum will fail. And it's a shame because it's being run by one of these groups, which is, taxpayers associations, which is, a very fancy name for a very specific set of political beliefs. What it boils down to, I'll put on the econ hat a little bit. Hey, Sir Wedgie, how's it going? The econ hat for a second. What this boils down to is that there's, I think, a property tax which is being used to finance this infrastructure improvement. Now, the actual cost works out to be something like, a few cents per person, over a very reasonable period of time. Like, all told, it is not a very significant tax. And this is obviously, just a couple cents a day is a way that, somebody trying to push a policy is going to make it seem not that costly. But in the end, nobody is making a major decision in terms of whether or not to purchase a house based on the change of this tax. And of course, this is to ignore all of the very well-established benefits that come from a very robust public transit infrastructure. Clearly, Vancouver has most will say this is a problem. This could just be the natural progression of a city when it reaches a certain size, but the fact that living in downtown Vancouver is an exceptionally expensive proposition. And so you see a lot of people moving out to places like where I live. I've got a lot of friends who originally said, I'm never going to move beyond, X boundary over here. And they're all living relatively close to me now, just because it's not affordable to live anywhere else. So one of the ways that you get around that is to have a transit system that's capable of establishing connections from these more remote regions to the downtown area. And I mean, lots of other effects that come from having this kinds of transit infrastructure. So, I mean, overall, the cost per person is very, very small. And the kinds of projects that you would want the government putting some money into or, raising a tax for, the benefits exceed the individual costs. This is known as a positive externality. Having good public transit means there are fewer cars on the road keeping you from getting to work. So even if you don't personally take public transit, you have the benefit of, having less traffic congestion. Obviously, there are fewer carbon emissions. There's an environmental case to be made. Although, even aside from any global warming concerns, it's just nicer to live if there isn't car exhaust. Hey T. Clark, how's it going? You can finally join the stream from the start rather than more than halfway through. Yeah, T. Clark, this wasn't intended this way, but that is a nice side effect through me having to deal with the slow transit system, is that people get to start from the beginning. Although, of course, now you get to see how boring I am at the very beginning. I'm just talking about transit referendums. But I don't know, like, I can appreciate that there are people who do not want to see any increase in taxes for something that they may not perceive a direct benefit from, right? I don't take the bus, so why should I pay for somebody else to take the bus? And it's like, well, it's because there are quite a few benefits that you will get. Other than that, it's kind of the same as saying, it's like, I've never been robbed, why should I have to pay for a police force? The fact that you have some degree of security for your private property has already, you are already retaining that benefit. It's also a little bit like, I guess the other argument would be is like, okay, you can have Fort Knox, Fort Knox has never been robbed. Is that a reason to remove the security guards? No, because there's a reason why Fort Knox hasn't been robbed. There's a few different ways that you can sort of parse that out, although I should say the Fort Knox one isn't an example of a positive externality. But basically the idea here is that I think any reasonable measure of what's actually at stake as far as numbers are concerned, the costs are outweighing the benefits of this measure, but the money needs to come from somewhere, and so they're paying for it through a small raise in property taxes. Now, the reason why this will very likely fail, I mean, I've given you all the benefits, right? It's like any reasonable person would see this as a perfectly good policy. So why are they opposing it? And the fact of the matter is that the company that runs the transit system, known as TransLink, vastly overpays its executives. I believe they are finally starting to rein this in a little bit because the outrage is just so huge. There have been some major service interruptions to the point of people being stranded on buses, in SkyTrains for, hours. Most of the PR after these have been terrible. It's like some woman with implants and like a really low-cut shirt coming out saying it's like, well, people should just go and have a coffee and wait for this thing to get finished. And it's like, this is moms trying to get kids from daycare who are now being told to go and just get a coffee while everything gets fixed. Like, it's silly. Regarding the PR person's presentation, like, very clearly people should be able to dress the way that they want. Like, the appearance thing is just kind of like, I can't help but imagine that there was a very terrible series of decisions made in terms of how they wanted the PR person to be presented, which, kind of communicate how out of touch this company is. So unfortunately, something that, they've been very clear in terms of where these finances go and how there's going to be proper oversight for the money that's been raised. That's been completely drowned out by the fact that this company has got a lot of it's a very well-deserved bad reputation. I ran into that tonight. Again, I have certain expectations about where I should be able to get in terms of times, and I'm beginning a broadcast about an hour and a half later than I'd intended. So anyways, it's a bit of a story of municipal politics and the reason why I'm late tonight. On the contrary, System Shock, I don't think you're boring at all. It's fascinating because you're so well-spoken on many different subjects. Thank you very much, T. Clark. Sister Pure Blaze thinks System Shock is boring. Yes. I heart public transit. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, this is... I was going to say, too, I think you need to see the video to see exactly what I meant by that. I am one of the... I am actually quite bothered by the way that some people talk about the way women dress in regards to how seriously you should take them. But I'm also not completely tone deaf to what certain businesses want to try and communicate with with an image. So apologies if my meaning behind that statement wasn't that clear. But anyways, Steam sale is done. Because I'm being whiny tonight, I'll be honest with you. I think this is part of an unfortunate trend for Steam, which is the sales are becoming increasingly worse, for lack of a better term. I think this is probably best personified by considering Dark Souls 2. So I can remember when I got Dark Souls, I got it in a Steam sale, and I paid under $10 for it. And the game was about a year old. Now, obviously, the PC port was older than the PC port is newer than the original release of the game. But basically, within a year of its release, I picked up Dark Souls, and I paid under $10 for it. Very good price. Now, Dark Souls 2 has been released, and then of course they released Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, so haha on you if you bought, you were an early adopter. And I mean, one way of looking at this is to say, well, Scholar of the First Sin was just released on, April of this year, so it's only a couple of months old, but let's call this what it is. This is Dark Souls 2 with DLC, and perhaps one additional DLC that, you couldn't have obtained elsewhere except through getting Scholar of the First Sin, and it's 50% off for the entire sale at $27. So, and of course, there's the third game will probably be out before it, reaches a price which is comparable to what I bought the original Dark Souls for. Now, there's a side of me which is saying that, the Steam sales have probably been, I won't necessarily say business unfriendly, but there's been a very large surplus that we as consumers have been enjoying, which is I think that the games have been priced much lower than we'd actually be willing to pay for them. But of course, this is the reputation of the Steam sale. And I think that age is over. The best deals, in my opinion, were flash sales, and I think there are certain titles which probably would have been better served on flash sales. Like, there's definitely a lot of stuff which I saw, it's like, okay, I'm interested in this game, but I'm definitely not interested in this price. Oh, your friend and you were just talking about this earlier, about how the past couple of years Steam sales have been getting progressively more underwhelming. This year you managed to avoid the Steam sale entirely, and you don't feel like you missed out on anything. Yeah, I won't quite go that far, T. Clark, because of course this stream is going to be about playing some of the things that I picked up over the Steam sale and have really enjoyed. I won't be dogmatic about it. There's a couple of games that I want to play that I didn't buy in the Steam sale, but I still think are good titles. But in principle, yeah, I agree. I think anybody with a reasonably, far-reaching memory will say that the Steam sale is reflective. Like, I don't think anybody can pinpoint the sale where the trend started, but I think everybody's aware of the fact that these sales are not as ridiculous as they used to be. Which again is, in one sense, is fine, because you want to make sure that the people who are developing games are being compensated fairly for what they're doing. Clearly, if you don't find the value in a title, don't buy it. But on the other hand, Valve has stopped making games. Let's say it like it is. So I'm attracted to Valve for Steam. Well, what do I like about Steam? Well, digital distribution is nice, but they're not the only game in town for that. So one of the things that I like about Steam is the fact that I can get some really good deals on these gems. One of the nice things about the Steam sales was it allowed me to take a chance on these titles which maybe I wouldn't have seen before, right? That, a game goes down to some very, very slim discount, and I wind up picking it up. I think that actually happened with Frozen Synapse. I saw it for something like $2 or $3, and I bought it. I loved it. I actually bought Frozen Cortex at, a much higher price than I bought Frozen Synapse, because I really thought it was worth it. And I don't see that in the Steam sale anymore. So, The Steam sale this time around was terrible. Maybe it was the fact that you already own most of the games. That's one factor. I mean, there's definitely a very high saturation point. You never really saw that much that stood out. Yeah, definitely there's not a lot of standout sales. Like, they say the Encore sale of the best deals. It was definitely not an Encore sale of the best deals. The best deals were the flash sales. Missing out on something is entirely subjective. Absolutely agreed, Halex. Like, in the end, like, if I got stuff that I was interested in, you know, I'm not gonna deny that. But again, if I contrast the fact that in previous Steam sales I was able to take a chance on stuff which was just like, this might actually be a terrible game, but this is a price at which I'm willing to accept either a zero return or, you know, even mediocrity, and I've gotten my money's worth. And the only two games you got from the Steam sale were gifts. On that note, thank you very much to Superior Blaze for giving me a copy of Way of Life, which is a Crusader Kings 2 DLC. And then, in addition to that, thank you very much to Endors, who, in addition to his donation from last stream, gave me a copy of Massive Chalice, which we'll not be playing tonight, but we will play in the future. Now, what I'm going to be starting off with is
game truly begins.
Hand of Fate, which was one which I originally wasn't going to get, but my friend advocated for it, and I was really pleasantly surprised by this. So I kind of regret that I wasn't able to do this during the sale. The timing didn't quite work out. Although, I mean, this I got pretty much at the last minute, so it wouldn't have changed it anyway. But what surprises me the most about this is I was thinking a little bit about the games that I play on stream and that I really enjoy. And obviously Jesse Quill's kind comment on saying that, you know, I play the complicated games and I enjoy them so she doesn't have to, which I think is a very fair assessment. And I was reflecting on the fact that I really like this game, Hand of Fate, but it's actually, in my mind, it's a very simple game, but I think it works very well. I will first of all give credit to this title as it's a Unity title. I think it's really great to point out when these games are made by tools that we have access to, because, I mean, I think this is an impressive looking game. I don't know how well it translates on my low bitrate, but it's neat looking. And what I'm going to be playing are basically just the default decks. But I think even though I'm playing something that has effectively removed all of the strategy on my part from it, I still think it's a really interesting little concept, and I think it's executed really well. So I'll just catch up a little bit on chat before jumping in. So one friend gave you Prison Architect. That looks interesting. It's not like I'm very gun shy on early access titles, so I didn't really, even though it was quite inexpensive. By the way, I think early access is partially responsible for the lower discounts, because a lot more games are early access right now, and I think a lot of developers are saying, well, you know, we're not done making it yet, so we shouldn't put it on that big of a sale. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that the way people are treating early access is they want to have it both ways, that, you know, they want people to treat them like they're full titles so far as like the payment is concerned, but they want to be able to, you know, to drag their feet on development. And then the other friend gave you Resident Evil 4. You know, I've been watching a lot of people play the Resident Evil games, and I've never played one myself, but I'm feeling the peer pressure on this, actually. And you're planning on picking up Final Fantasy 14. A longtime friend suggested it, and you're looking forward to playing it with her. Well, I will let you know, Alex. The only reason I played World of Warcraft was because of a woman. So I think you're on a good path. Although I found out that I love the tanking role. I think my ego prevents me from playing any other role. So what's Hand of Fate? It's sort of... Obviously, this game came after Hand of Fate, but there's a side of me that wants to call this Darkest Dungeon meets Hearthstone. That's not a good description of this game, but it takes... oh man, what am I saying? Sir Wedgie is the Final Fantasy expert here. Oh, well, specifically Final Fantasy 14 expert. For those of you who haven't, by the way, I recommend you drop him a follow. I don't quite know. I don't think you have his regular schedule. Sir Wedgie. But when Sir Wedgie streams, I always have fun, and I get to live
Take
vicariously.
your time if you like. I've waited long enough.
The game's sassing me. So Sir Wedgie's a lot of fun to watch. He's, I think he's a little too humble for his own good, because he is actually quite a talented streamer, and I wish he did more often. And speaking of streamers, I would also encourage you guys, I think I've said this a couple of times, but it never hurts to remind people. Superior Blaze is in the chat, and I would also love it if you would click on him and give him a follow. The last time I saw his stream, I actually didn't say anything, but I was watching him and Kite260 play Portal 2, and the chemistry between them is absolutely fantastic. I think Portal 2 is a fun game, and I've only played the co-op once, but I really got a feeling of how fun Portal 2 co-op really is, watching the two of them. So even though I enjoy Portal 2 co-op, I enjoyed watching them do co-op more than I actually got out of the experience myself. So two fantastic streamers in channel right now. By the way, if the rest of you are streamers and I've either neglected you, or I didn't know, feel free to drop your link in the chat right now. Or whenever. But right now is a good time because I'm talking about streamers. Alright, I'll pick the opponents. So the first thing you do is you sort of pick the adventure that you're going to go on. I've just been doing it in the order that they come up. So this is the Queen of Dust. The curse is moneybags. In combat, the player's movement speed is reduced by how much gold they possess. So one thing that I'm going to want to do is lower the amount of gold that I have if over the course of this match. And then challenges here are Rockfall and Good Fortune. These are cards that I'm just going to wind up encountering over the course of the game. I've never seen this lore button, by the way, so let me just take a look here. The Bandit Queen was taken by slavers as a child and raised in the desert. Over the years, she has bribed and murdered her way to her current position as second in command of the Desert Thieves, proving herself capable by ruthless cunning. So it's actually kind of interesting to see how they incorporate this idea of the curse with the lore. So in this case, this is somebody who has turned the...
Come now, hurry up. Don't have forever.
Who's turned the bandits against themselves. And so they've incorporated that through a mechanic, which is to use your gold against you. I like that. Hey, Hallex, thank you very much for the host. So let's include Hallex inside of the list of streamers that you should check out. Sorry, maybe you've mentioned it to me as well before. I'm feeling like maybe you have, and so I apologize for not mentioning you before. And T. Clark's seen a bit of Hand of Fates a few months ago. It's a really interesting mishmash of different elements that at first glance seem completely disparate, but they somehow work really well together. I agree completely.
Old woman, this one. She did not collapse when the Empire did. No, she took up arms, organized her people, and vowed that in a country where death had gathered, she would be the one dealing it.
So... Oh, hang on. What's going on here? There we go. So it says, would you like to use recommended equipment in encounter deck? I'm going to say yes here. And the reason for that is I have no idea how deck building works in this. It hasn't mattered to me so far because I understand that the beginning... The beginning encounters are quite simple, and apparently the later encounters are very difficult. So far I found the first couple ones.
For the cup, the first of my symbols.
So these are the cards that are unique to that opponent that I'm after. But yeah, I found the opening encounters pretty simple, but I'm told that this game gets really hard.
I've added some cards to spice up the game.
Okay, now
in addition to the pain and gain decks, there are now blessings and curses. Choose your steps carefully.
Okay, so this is interesting. This is actually the first time that I've run into a situation where I get some choice in terms of my directions. One of the things I was going to comment on was the first couple of encounters that I had just a linear progression, so I would click on each of these cards, and there wouldn't be any strategy in picking the cards because they're all random, right? You just kind of click on the next one and see what happens. But it looks like in this case I'm going to need to start considering things like my food. So I've got three primary three primary resources. That is my health, which is currently ranked out of 100, my food, which is ranked out of 20, and gold, of which I currently have none. Your gear and all of that resets each time, so you kind of begin a new adventure each time around. No idea if you said anything about it, and you usually don't unless you're asked. Yeah, I mean, this is... I notice... generally, the etiquette of Twitch is such that you don't self-promote on other people's channels, but I definitely like to be... Like, I think most people kind of understand the environment well. It's a virtue in some cases that I am such a small stream, just because the people who are here because they want to be here, right? There are clearly better streamers. There are people, almost all of the games that I play, there's almost certainly somebody who does it better that's playing. So in this sense, it gives me the virtue that I don't need to babysit people, basically. I've really only had somebody come in and do a promotion first, but the fact of the matter is that I don't own you guys. I don't mind people talking about their streams just because I've benefited quite a bit from people's support and people giving me shout outs and things like that. And most importantly, I'm always looking for entertainment, right? I'm really disappointed in some ways about the fact that I haven't been able to stream as much as I wanted over the summer. But today there were some really great streams going on Team Panda. Miss Ariella was up. I think we had... Well, Jazzpoo isn't a Team Panda stream, but I think Jazzpoo was up. Weebro was going to stream, but he didn't mention it. But even if you just take a look at the Twitter activity, there's some really great stuff going on online. So I'm always looking for more entertainment options, and the fact that people are stopping by, the fact that they've decided to stay during the stream is possibly an indication that we have at least enough in common that I'd find the stream interesting. So yeah, I mean, if that is just in general for anybody here, if you'd like us to know about your stream, feel free to drop a link, or otherwise let us know that you are a streamer. So I kind of talked over some of the mechanics of the game. The card game itself involves just the drawing of these cards and placing them here. Clearly, the choice of the enemy, you saw that there were 3 different encounters that were entered in by the fact that this Queen of Dust, or whatever it was called, the fact that she was the opponent rather than anybody else. This is just a general encounter card, which I'm not 100% sure if this is something that you can pick in your deck, or if this is just something that that this sarcastic, mysterious man picks. It seems to be that as you progress through the game, more difficult encounters appear. But in this case here, you basically move from card to card, and you engage in the encounter. So this one is the Maze of Traps, and this is actually going to take me into the live action point of the game, and this is where I find it kind of interesting. So you have your first element, which is sort of a collectible card game, which is you sort of create a deck to give yourself the highest possible chance of good things happening. The same way in Hearthstone, right? You build a deck around a certain number of combos, but you don't want to build a combo that only has a 1 in a million chance of being drawn. You want enough flexibility that you're going to be able to to think on your feet. So similar idea, if you want to do the deck building component of this game, you handle that. Now, clearly here I let the game take care of that for me because I really haven't examined it that hard. But your game crashed. What game are you playing, Superior Blaze? But in this case here, we found a goblin treasure cave. Will you enter? Of course I'll enter. So now it takes this third-person view where I go running around a dungeon. Basically, I want to avoid the traps, which at this point seem fairly easy to dodge. This one I sometimes get caught by, but I've actually been to this encounter before, so... now this one I need to jump over. But, I mean, the big thing that you'll notice here is that, and where I was talking about how a lot of the games that I play... Okay, well, I screwed myself with that. A lot of the games that I play tend to be very complicated, but this one really isn't, right? Like, the card game, I had a very direct path in terms of where I was going to go. And what's happening with this encounter right now is just very simple action. You know, I need to obviously time my jump here so that I don't get crushed. But I just did the very simple maze and picked up the treasure. So I got singed a little bit, but 90 out of 100 health in order to get... So 10 health, basically, with drawing 3 gain cards. I'm okay with that, so... Hey, Jesse Quill, thank you very much for the host. You guys... So I don't think I'm going to be able to top what I said last time, but Jesse Quill... first of all, I hope you are not suffering any ill effects from your previous stream. Superior Blaze is playing Hand of Fate as well. It'd be wonderful if they could seed this game so that you could play the same hands that get drawn. But Jesse Quill is another member of Team Panda. I was talking about how there's a lot of great activity happening on there right now. Jessie Quill is an absolute... I've already called her my stream mom because she's been so helpful in terms of her, just sharing best practices with streams. She is a ton of fun. It's probably, I think if you were to see everything on there, I probably spend a lot more time than I should on that stream rather than streaming myself. But she's great. She was last playing SpongeBob.
It has been called the game of eternity that we play. I didn't think that meant you'd take forever to make a decision, mind.
So she played SpongeBob SquarePants. She had also played the Stanley Parable, which I like watching that game, but especially watching her play it. I'm like, okay, 1, I need to go play Stanley Parable, and 2, she streams it very well. As I always say, for those of you who are not following her already, she has an incredibly impressive presence. So, this is one thing I can say. Like, there's a streamer like W. Shand who kind of seems to have been born for the camera. And in this case, he does a really good host role. Like, I could see him hosting a game show very easily. Jessie Quill has a similar quality, in the sense that I also think she just has a natural camera presence. But they're two very different kinds of streamers. And one of the great things about Jessie Quill is she has one of the most expressive casts. Like, her ability to either communicate through body language, facial expressions... to basically communicate what's on her mind is really second to none. It's actually one of the reasons why, out of the few people who I watch play Telltale games, I like hers the most, because one of the reasons why I don't do Telltale games or something like Transistor is the fact that I just have my voice, right? Transistor has this wonderful audio component to it through which it communicates the story, and the story is worth listening to. So in this case, I'm competing with the game. In this case of Jessie Quill, if she plays a game like that, and I'll use The Walking Dead as a particular example because I think it's such a highlight of her cast, her expressions are enough to carry what's brought on. In addition to the fact that she does, good commentary, but most of all, she's great at communicating with her audience. So lots of good people to follow here. Yeah, the Stanley Parable is magnificent. So now that I've gotten the
I'm sure you agree
the loot,
for that.
I've gotten 15 gold, which is in this case not that great because of my enemy. I definitely like this armory card, so I'm going to draw 3 and keep 1. I can pick medium armor. I don't know what the Angel's Wing is. Let's take a look at that. Helm imbues the wearer.
Quickly from here. There is little material gain to be made.
This helm imbues the wearer with greater movement speed. So this is actually an interesting counter to this Queen of Dust curse, which would be that if I could all of a sudden carry a lot of gold, but the fact that I have the Angel Wing is something to counter that. So I'll consider it. And then Helm of Reflection Upon reflecting a
Coarse
projectile.
defense, but a valuable one nonetheless.
So it says, upon reflecting a projectile, this helm creates a small force explosion. Now, I currently don't have a shield, so this would be picking up this item, assuming that I get a second one. I don't like running through games where I assume the good thing's going to happen to me. Medium armor is also good to have just because it provides good attack.
Distinctly average. What do you expect me to say? Congratulations?
Kite260, hello Chalk. Chat, want to stop by and say hi. Really long work shift tomorrow. Enjoy the stream, everyone. Thank you very much for stopping by, Kite260. We're always talking about... we're already talking about the chemistry between Superior Blaze and Kite260 during Portal 2. I know you guys have played something in between, but I didn't get to catch your last cast. Kite260 is the other half of that equation, so... Oh, and you know what? I think I missed a second host. Yeah, we've got Hallex1316 and Jesse Quill hosting us, so thank you both of you for that. All right, so I'm going to go for the Angel's Wing on this one. There's a bit of an argument for the medium armor just because it will keep my health higher.
I'm surprised to see you turning your back on gold.
I didn't think gold was an option. And I gained 3 gold, which isn't all that impressive. So this is the neat thing about this game, is that each individual component is very simple, right? I get to pick one of 2 directions. This is the most choice I've ever had on this map, by the way. I don't know what any card is going to be, so there's an equal probability through which I'm going to wind up on one of these encounters. The only resource I need to worry about is food, but I've got lots of that. So, I mean, in this case, I'll just click on one and... okay. Well, this is a bit of a shame.
Were you hoping this was the end? No. Another floor awaits.
This is a bit of a shame just because I don't want to go down the stairs yet, so I'll turn back. And we'll keep exploring. So this is actually the least efficient way for me to navigate this this set of cards. If I'd gone to the right, then I could have just done the spiral around, but in this case... I mean, again, there's no way of knowing, right? Everything is probabilistic. There was a 1 in 3 chance that it was the stairs, and I picked the ones that happened to be the stairs. Kite260, thank you very much for the host. A helmet creates a force explosion? Yeah, that's what I want. An explosive on my head. What could go wrong with that? Alright, Twisted Canyon. You see a weapon glinting in the sunlight, laying next to a skeleton at the bottom of the canyon. Obviously, we climb down and retrieve the weapon because we're reckless. Notice that my health is back up. That's just over the passage of time you regain health.
A choice. Select your desire.
So there's basically a 25% chance that I fail this. I've got 4 different cards that I can pick. Now, what interests me is that traditionally, every time I have done this encounter, the fail has been in this third one. Now, it's a small enough set of draws that it's not completely incredible that this happens. But I'm very interested to see whether or not this game actually has a memory component to it as well, where you need to remember how the encounters go. So for this one, I'm going to do the far left card, and if it's a failure this time around, I think that would be like the 3rd time in a row that that's happened, and I need to start considering the hypothesis that the outcomes are sort of foreordained. Now, in this case, the failure wasn't there, so in this case, again, it's just basically a 1 in 4 chance of failing it. So, very carefully, you make your way down to the bottom of the canyon. You retrieve the weapon from the ancient corpse. Draw 1 weapon card. And I get Desperate Measures. Damage 32. This mace inflicts more damage the lower the health of the wielder is. So 32 damage is okay. Holy is also nice. It means that if there is an undead creature that you bludgeon to death with your mace, it can't resurrect. But I have no idea if I'll be facing undead because of this queen. So in this case, that'll be replacing my rusty axe. It's a difference of 12 damage plus the holy.
Are you sure that's the right approach?
Maiden.
You might think the world of the cards is grim. Yet, even in the darkness, there is light to be found.
One day in a shady forest, you encounter an elf maiden. She stops to greet you. I am Marith of the Forest Folk. My people have long helped mortals in this realm. What boon would you ask of me? So, I don't know what longer life does, and I'm already at maximum health, so I don't really want to risk that. Ask for supplies might be good because I did just spend... Actually, I think I am going to do that. There's a side of me that also kind of wants to do gold, but I still like this idea of keeping my purse light just in case I encounter the end boss. So in this case, I'm going to ask for supplies just because the fact that I now have my options in terms of where I'm going through might mean I spend more time in these dungeons than I need to. So this bread will help sustain you for many days. The dealer draws 2 food gain cards. So 5 food. And another 5 food. So at this point, I'm not going to need anything else. The greatest of magical artifacts were forged long ago and have only limited uses before their power is spent. Use them wisely and they may guide you to victory. Farewell, mortal.
One more step down, and we may see the end of this, or another set of stairs.
And we take the stairs. You embark on the next leg of your adventure. I'm just going to take a bite of food because I didn't have dinner. And I do have some cold udon noodles and a little bit of beef. So I'm just going to at least take one mouthful. So sorry for low commentary for a second.
This game is still only beginning. New rules, new tools, new abilities. We have far to go as yet.
So this is a little bit more consistent with the kind of map that I have here. Where I was talking about the Darkest Dungeon, the thing that really appeals to me about the Darkest Dungeon is you have just forward and backward when you are actually going down a corridor. But your decisions to move on the map, do you go north or do you go west, and there's going to be X number of encounters depending on that decision, still puts an element of strategy in. For a layout like this, you have no strategy, right? There's going to be some chance that this card is good, some chance that this card is bad, but it doesn't matter because it's a big linear path. Helpful priest.
Priests, gods, and eternal damnations. I have no truck with any of it. We play for a token now.
Alright, so I'll explain the tokens if I get it. So, you meet a wandering priest who greets you in a friendly manner. For a small share of your provisions, I will bless you in the name of the old gods. Give him half my food. Wow. Why not? Okay, success, success, or huge success! He says a few words in the language of the old religion and gently touches your forehead. It is done. Draw 1 blessing card. This card's token is now yours. So,
Blessings will remain always active and are never removed. Unless you die, of course. Then you're back where you began, as always.
Definitely hurting for food. Will of the Gods. At the start of each combat, a random opponent is highlighted. If that creature is the first to die, then it pops out 5 gold, which the player may collect. So this is not actually that good, given the fact that my opponent is going to be one that hurts me based on the amount of gold that I have. But I also get the...
It is yours.
Yeah. I also get the option of... of not killing that particular creature. Now, what these tokens are, when I complete this this game, I'm going to be able to click on these tokens. It's a little bit like opening an expansion pack in Hearthstone. It's going to add new cards. But as you gain new cards, so does the dealer. And so that's where the difficulty curve of the game comes in, which is, I might have just got, the super long sword of ass-kicking, but he gets, the fire-breathing dragon, which is immune to kick-ass swords. So that's kind of how the balance is maintained. Goblins!
I do love goblins. Truly, I haven't seen their like in years. Excellent.
Stanley Parable narrator is now a mystical card dealer. One night you awake and find your belongings being rifled through by goblins. As soon as they notice you stirring, they run away with your weapon. They have also stolen some of your food and gold. Oh man! So if they took my weapon, and there's 3 goblins. You scramble to your feet and chase after the thieves. If they took my weapon, how do I attack them? I guess we'll find out. I think they just run away from me. We'll see. So this is going to be similar to the maze. This is definitely the more active component, where again you have this third-person perspective. Oh, I'm just back to my rusty axe. And this, I'll just bludgeon the goblin to death. Combat's pretty simple. Just left clicking just left clicking to attack. Collect the gold. I really want to get my weapon back, but I just got through the portal. Okay, so we're basically at a wash, unless one of the cards gives me my weapon back. Goblins most likely stole my underwear too. With the goblin dealt with, you continue on your way. So basically, I'm down food, down gold. I got a blessing which isn't useful. Not a very good run. But yeah, so effectively at this point now, you've seen everything that this game has to offer. The the main driving point is this card game. It's actually a little bit. There's a Canadian film. It's an old film, but it's a really interesting one called The Red Violin, and it begins with this Italian woman visiting a fortune teller, and she draws each of the cards and sort of tells the story of this. Well, basically tells the plot through the tarot cards. And this story winds up mapping to this violin known as the Red Violin, and it kind of passes through history. And I mean, this violin goes through, old gypsy camps. It winds up in China during the Cultural Revolution with Mao. The attempts
for eons I have waited for an appropriate player. It seems there are more eons ahead.
They're trying to protect this violin from being destroyed by the why can't I remember the name of the group? It's in the Nyan Cheng book. Anyways, the followers, the members of the party in the Cultural Revolution. So it's a little bit like that. In this case, you've got a plot which is being driven by these random draws. And then, of course, the consequences of the action. Again, there's always still that... you've got one of two possibilities, which is another card game in which there's just some probability of success or failure determined by your draw. But then there is the interactive component. And that just becomes a very simple, this is the sort of game that you would expect to play, in the early 90s by a small independent or like shareware company or something like that. But this combination is actually really effective. And so even though... so I get
terrifying walk to get to the Queen. So many potential places for an assailant to get the upper hand.
Hey, Lorgosh, how's it going? So actually, this is an important point to... violin is kind of like Forrest Gump. Actually, that's not a bad analogy to make when you think about it. It would be more appropriate if Forrest Gump took place over several generations. So notice that he specifically referred to the Queen, and that's because this card here is unique to that particular opponent. So let's see what happens during the rockfall. While journeying near the coast, you hear rumble overhead. Falling rocks force you to take cover. Attempt to dodge the rocks. Notice here, failure, failure, huge failure, and one chance of success. Well, I just got failure. While fleeing, you are struck by several rocks. The dealer draws you one pain card. Permanent injury.
Ouch.
Lose 5 max health. So now I'm at 95 out of 95 for health. Just when you think it's over, a large rock bounces off your helm. Looking up, you spot bandits on the hill above you. Run up to attack the bandits. The dealer draws you 2 monster cards. Alright, so I basically have 6 opponents that I need to deal with. The 3 of dust here means that I'm going to be facing off against 3 bandits. The suits will determine the type of enemy that you're at, and this is actually a really small environment to do battle in. So I'll try and do some of these stuns. If you right-click, you do a stun, and then Q allows you to block if you have a shield. I'm trying to find out which of these guys has the blessing, but I guess there isn't one. So I'm basically just being a big coward and making sure I stay as far away as I can. Gold! I haven't really been using the dodge here, but that's just because in the end I got this speed helmet to make sure I was able to... dodge! Alright. I got the speed helmet to make sure I wasn't taking damage. Oh, I didn't even know those guys. It's kind of hard to tell which ones are dead and which ones are just knocked down. There we go. If you lost 5 max health, do you think that option for longer life from the Elf Maiden increases your max health? I think that's possible. I just didn't want... Given the fact that I had the option of getting more food, which I thought would be important for this potentially longer dungeon, I didn't want the risk of passing up something that I would actually find useful. Because as you notice, if you're effective at dodging, you don't actually need to worry that much about your max health. But I think... Personally, T. Clark, I actually think that it does increase your max health. I just haven't tested it yet, and I didn't think that was the appropriate time to test. So, what you may be noticing from these encounters is that this game seems really easy. That is a very fair assessment. I will comment, though, that this encounter is orders of magnitude more difficult than even the previous encounter or even like the previous game that I played before, like yesterday when I wasn't streaming. Might be the way the game's balancing out those events when you lose max health. Yeah, I agree. There's other ways that you get max health as well, but I'll find it. Like, the big thing is the Maiden has come up every single time that I've played this game. So I'm just going to wait for a time where I don't feel like I need food or something like that. And again, in this case here, I wound up losing so much more because the priest wanted half of my food. But you can't know that, right? So in this particular case here, I will say that from what I always keep hearing how the later game in this is really difficult. And I will definitely say that there's a very high ramp up in terms of just the quantity of enemies or the qualities that they have. So there's ranged opponents and things like that. So it's definitely not at the moment. I will not call it a high skill cap game, but I have a suspicion that this game is going to turn quite difficult quite quickly. Like already, this is a pretty grim looking run, whereas the previous two, I really never felt like I had a risk of losing. Frostfang, 25 damage. Ice. Equipment with this trait is imbued with glacial power. Lizardmen are especially susceptible to ice damage. Well, I haven't encountered lizardmen yet, so that's not great. But each hit slows the target with cold. Press 1 to shoot a cone of ice. So, the fact that it has the ice cone is really great. Number 2, this is another thing that is going to be an indirect counter to the Queen's ability. 1, I have faster movement speed, so it doesn't matter as much if I have a lot of gold. 2, I now have Frostfang, so even if I were to lose my speed, this is going to level the playing field on the condition that I'm able to do some of that frost damage. So, oh, but I still have Desperate Measures. I didn't know that. So in this case, we will say no. Scavenger's Cap. Whenever the player...
I'm sure you've learned how valuable resources are by now.
Whenever the player gains food, they will receive 45% extra food. And... oh, but I have to give up the Angel's Wing for that. So it's tempting because I'm low on food, but I'm going to maintain the strat. I'm going to play for the end game rather than assume that I'm going to run out of resources on my way. Mr. Lionel. Whilst enjoying your evening meal at the local tavern, a strange old man takes a seat next to yours. He taps your shoulder quite painfully with his wooden staff to get your attention, and you notice that he appears to be a goblin, poorly disguised as a human. His wizened face grins with a hint of madness. My name is Mr. Lionel. If you give me what I need, I will conjure up your heart's desire with this wizarding wand of my own creation. Now, I have not done anything but ask him what he needs. If I give him bread for my plate, that's probably going to give up food, which I really need. I could possibly give up 20 gold, which is going to work to my advantage in terms of lightening my pockets. But in this case, I know he gives me a shield if I say ask him what he needs, and I actually want the shield, so I'm just going to say ask him what he needs. Need? I need to help you. Mr. Lionel taps his staff on the ground, and the shield materializes at your feet. There, go on, old bean. He smiles a warm grin that reveals his chipped and yellowed teeth. Your face reminds me of my son. I haven't met you before, have I? Draw one shield card. And I get Fortune's Breath, which every third encounter does not consume food. Fantastic. Press right mouse button to shield bash a target, stunning it. And then I can also hit the Q key, which is a little difficult because you do use the WASD movement in this game. And I tend to notice that moving for the block is sometimes a little... it's a little inconvenient just because, I also want to be moving at the same time. Then, before you can stop him within human speed, he snatches a pickled onion off your plate and sprints to the tavern door. Lose 100 food! No. So I've noticed that I heal each movement, which is I'm back to my 95 health. Call for the priest. In a shady grove off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. Priests have some skill in tending wounds, but they excel at removing curses. For a price, of course. I don't have any curses, but I'm going to approach the shop anyway just because there's really there's no drawback. I just have another encounter and I decide not to pick up anything. So, greetings, wise traveler. I have much to offer you. Alright, so I can buy food. So buy blessings, I can get Holy Touch. Well, 775.
Useful.
I suspect I can't buy any of these. Yeah. What about selling items? Oh. Definitely sell the scavengers. I mean, I could try equipping it, but... I don't really need the Frost Fang either. I have a feeling I still don't have Desperate Measures equipped, though. And I'm going to use all of that money to buy food. So it's possible there might be an awesome item that comes up later.
Every step you take consumes food, but you will also heal as you proceed.
But this is basically the reason I'm doing this. This is a nice way to lower the amount of gold that I have. And I think the next thing I need to figure out...
You can always review your cards here.
Ah, nice. Okay, so I do have Desperate Measures equipped. Yeah, so the only thing I'm really missing out here, I've never run into gloves, trinkets, or artifacts. I'm sure they'll come up. The only thing I'm really missing out is the possibility of getting better armor. But again, if I keep my dodging and my blocking down, that shouldn't be a problem. So, yes, leave the shop. We've cleared out the gold, and I'm no longer hurting for food. You don't retain gold through playthroughs either, so really, if you have a lot of gold for this encounter where it's for like the final encounter where supposedly it hurts you, you're only putting yourself at a disadvantage.
It's better than trudging along a muddy road. Certainly.
Hitch a ride. Or for you Borderland fans, catch a ride! Sorry guys, my mic has been slowly syncing this entire broadcast. I'm just going to take a minute to readjust it. Okay, I'm hunching slightly less. You found a friendly trader willing to let you ride on his wagon. You have discovered the exit to this area. Hitch a ride. So this is actually the first time I didn't get stairs to end the area, but it doesn't seem to have a major difference.
You are close on her trail, and more confident than I had imagined. Perhaps you will play beyond this mark, and we will see your true mettle.
So I'm kind of interested. If I was low on food, I wouldn't head down here. But in this case, I kind of want to move over. I kind of want to explore everything I can because it gives me the chance of getting extra gear. It's a little bit like FTL, right? Where you could just make a beeline to the exit because the purpose of the game is to get to the last boss and defeat it. But of course, defeating the boss requires you to have better gear. So I'm interested. Now, the other thing, too, is that this game could also be trolling me, which is this is where the exit is. And, you know, if you have low food, you have to move through each of these zones only to find out that you actually wanted to head down here. You know, that's another possibility. In this case here, the cost for exploring this is quite low to me at 20 food, so I'll just head over there.
Crypt robbing. I'm not sure the dead fighting back makes this any more dignified.
Hey, Kite. Thanks for stopping by again. I will be sure to scream as loudly as possible during Dead King's Hall. You see an ancient ornate coffin in the main in the main burial chamber. It may hold spectacular wealth, but it will surely be guarded. Draw 2 monster cards. So 4 of dust, so that's 4 bandits and 2 undead. So attempt to take them by surprise. So equal probability. Basically, if I succeed, it's definitely going to be a huge success, but it's basically a coin flip. So let's get chat to interact on this, especially because I think my delays,
for lack of a better word, is good.
Who just did that?
Just a little way of saying you are awesome.
It said anonymous, but I want to make sure that Twitch Alerts is actually saying that. Alright, so this is from Superior Blaze, who's already donated to the channel. I don't know why it keeps listing you as anonymous, but good lord. Superior Blaze, I don't know what to say, dude. Thank you very much. The last time I was at your channel, I did see that you had a donation bar for building a new streaming computer, so that means a lot that you are continuing to support me so readily. But man, I want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because I really, really like watching your channel.
Take your time if you like.
Shut up,
I've
dealer.
waited long enough.
I'm thanking Superior Blaze. Thanks a lot, man. I mean, I don't really know what to do with you guys. I can't remember how many donations have come in this month, but we're definitely set a new record for this. So, thank you guys. All right, so let's make this interactive. So, Fyric Saner, sorry if I probably just butchered the pronunciation of your name. Thanks for stopping by. I don't believe I've said hi to you yet. So I'm going to take number 3 as being this option here. Anybody else who wants to vote on the card that I'll take, we'll just do simple majority. I'll wait for the next couple of minutes, especially because this gives me an idea in terms of who, or what the delay is like for the stream. So we'll just give it a couple minutes, and this also gives me a chance to enjoy a little bit of dinner. All right, thanks, Virex. Of course you're going to split the vote. See, you know what? That's fine. I can just... It's an ordinal ranking. 0, 1, 2, 3, and that just moves everybody over one. Now, the problem is that we have a complete even tie if we do that. So, 1, I hate you all, except Superior Blaze for donating. Thank you all for stopping by. I don't know how to break this tie, so I'm going to do what any self-respecting... Oh god, do I even remember how to do this? 1 second. This is the longest decision that I've made on stream.
Come now, hurry up. We don't have forever.
T. Clark wants the far left. Yeah, I figured that, T. Clark. Effectively, what Superior Blaze is deliberately trying to make my life difficult. So that would be 0. Okay, so I guess that technically makes 2 over. But again, I can't take Superior Blaze as a serious vote. That's a little bias. What's it? Oh, because of the donation thing. Yeah, well, we're coming up in election season in both Canada and the United States. That's how it works, right? The party that pays the most gets in. Am I thinking of a different country? All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I really hope I get this right. Okay, well, first of all, I can't... Oh, you son of... How do I do... Oh, you know what? Here's another way of doing this. 3! There we go. Or the statistical software package comes through. 1.154. Bloody... Oh god, what number was it? Yeah, Mac user. Okay, I'm an idiot. I completely forgot what number it was. Yay! Macs never crash, right? Alright, one more time. I was too busy congratulating myself for remembering how the sample function works. Number 1, cool. I believe that should also produce the same result consistently unless I seed it, so. 1 it is! Huge success! Oh, it was 3? Well, screw you. I just got a huge success. Thank you, everybody, for reminding me of that. I feel like a complete moron that I spent all that effort to get the number and I completely don't remember it because I was so upset that it gave me a continuous random number. Suddenly you leap into the fray, taking one of them down before they can even react. Great, so I only have 5 to deal with. Oh, choose a monster to discard. Do I get rid of the 4 bandits or the 2 skulls? Yeah, re-rolling was the better option. If ever you don't like the results, just simply change them. Again, much like how elections work. So Q is the block option. You can know the right time to block by seeing the green over... Alright, I didn't know that there were... Didn't know that there were arrows. Fortunately, it seems to attack the enemies as well. So obviously one comment I'll make for the combat, even though it's very simple, it's nice and stylish. Like, they do the slow motion quite well. So... T. Clark, so you were right. Let me savor this moment. Doesn't happen often. Yeah, everybody who was voting for far left, savor the moment. In fact, anybody who is voting for the leftmost side of the board can savor the moment. But again, keeping in mind we all had an equal probability of getting that one right. So, I get 1 equipment. Rusty axe. Nope.
As pleases you.
3 food. And 5 max health, so...
More health to work with. Much good may do you.
Which enemy do you fight in this round? It's the Queen of Dust, I think is her name? This is, I should also note, too, this is the second sitting session that I've played of Hand of Fate. I'm just on, like, my third or fourth game. Really liking it, though. I think it's a well-designed little game, and I was talking about it before, how, it's a bit of a change of pace for me just because it's a very simple game in many respects, but I think what it does exceptionally well. So, in the Shady Grove off the beaten trail, you find a traveling merchant looking to trade with wandering adventurers. Greetings, wise traveler, I have much to offer you. So there's a side of me that thinks I should sell the axe, but if you think about that, the only reason why I would benefit from selling the axe would be getting gold for a future encounter. Most future encounters where I'm going to need gold are going to be merchants. Not all, but most. So, all of these are definitely more expensive, except for the shield, but, I mean, I don't need it. The Chains of Rage would have been nice, if only just for the medium defense, but selling the hand axe is almost certainly not going to net me 35 gold. Oh, I discarded it anyway, so in this case, we just leave. I thought I was going to have something to sell, and in that case I wouldn't have sold it unless there was actually something I wanted to buy from it, because, again, we don't want to be slowed down from having too much gold in our pockets. Another rockfall.
Again, the stones tumble upon you.
While journeying near the coast, you hear a rumble overhead. Falling rocks force you to take cover. Alright, so again, 25% chance of success, equal chance of a catastrophic failure, and the remaining 50 is for just regular failure. I won't poll chat, let's just go for far right this time. Huge failure! You slip and stumble into the path of the rockfall. The dealer draws you 2 pain cards. Lose 5 max health. Lose 10 max health. I actually believe Fyrex probably would have given me the success in that case. You hear a voice somewhere above you. Did I hit him? Run up to attack the bandits. Dealer draws you 2 monster cards. 2 of dust and 3 of dust, so 5 bandits. And basically, I'm just going to do what I normally do, bludgeon these guys with absolutely no sophistication whatsoever, and probably dodge more than block. That was actually you got to see that slow motion component was actually a successful block. Or a counter, rather. So basically, every time you see a reaction prompted by one of those green alerts, that's just me using the shield ability. You only use block to reflect projectiles? That makes sense. I usually do it. I do it mostly because I noticed when I played The Witcher, the fact that I focused on one particular strategy came to bite me. So I try to keep on top of any of the mechanics, you know, if only just through the gesture. Especially for me, for whatever reason, when I'm doing the WASD movement, Q isn't always the most immediate. Like, my reaction on hitting the Q isn't as fast as it should be. Now, right now, again, unless later in the game the reaction time, the window is shorter, it doesn't really matter, but... Alright, draw 2 equipment cards. Medium armor, good.
Middle of the road in every way.
And Chains of
Change
Rage.
the armor, as you will.
During combat, strikes sustained from bows and wands have a chance to restore your cooldowns. Well, I mean, it's still medium armor, and it does give me a small bonus. I don't really want to have that happen to me. I'd much prefer to dodge the projectile, but I might as well equip it. On Mac, the block is on Q. You have it on the right mouse. Yeah, so the right mouse is like the shield bash or the stun.
An accident or a trap? I wonder.
Attempt to dodge the rocks. I guess I should... Well... I don't know, chat. I'll let you guys decide this time. Shift is actually a pretty good idea there, Lorgosh. Space is what the dodge is, but the shift is not as the shift doesn't require me to move one of my fingers. All right, so we've got 2. Success! You dodge the rocks by ducking into a small cave. A few minutes later, you emerge and climb out of the new rockfall. Oh, okay. Well, I was going to run up and attack them anyway, so... Hey, nice. Thank you, Wedgie. Touring the coasts where rock and roll is still alive. So I believe there are only 3 rockfall cards for this particular opponent. So... 3 of dust. Okay, so basically the same encounter we had last time. I won't make this look good, but we'll at least avoid taking a lot of damage. Oops. Oh, damn it. I thought I hit the Q there. There we go. So I'm not particularly worried about the damage that I took from that. Basically, I think... Yeah, I've got 2 more moves to the left, so as long as I don't sustain any damage, if I'm not at the full 85, I'll be close enough to it. Alright, so Damocles, during combat, press 2 to throw knives in 8 cardinal directions.
Artifacts give you powerful abilities to use in combat.
And the Explorer's Helmet reveals Stairs encounter upon entering a level and grants a gold bonus for revealing every encounter on a level. Definitely not one I want to replace for the Angel's Wing again. We still have the same logic for keeping the Angel Wing. I don't want bonus gold because it'll slow me down and I won't have the advantage from the Angel Wing. And I've got enough food that I don't need to worry about where the stairs are, so we will not equip the Explorer's Helmet. Bandit
Our
attack.
bandits are displeased with your challenges.
Group of bandits suddenly attacks. The King of Dust isn't happy about you killing his men. I thought it was the Queen of Dust. The dealer draws you 1 monster card. 2 of Dust, so we get to bang the bandits' heads together. This is actually one where there's the possibility that this blessing will result in additional gold for me. When I have to deal with like 5 or 7 guys, it's probably not that realistic that I'm gonna kill the right one first, but this is again basically a coin toss.
I did not realize you were such a fearsome adversary. I will bear that in mind.
Achievement unlocked. Not sure which one it is, but... Well, I know the title, but I don't know what it says here. Among the bodies you find the scrap of parchment, which is a rough description of you, plus an offer of a reward from the King of Dust. The dealer draws you 1 game card. 25 gold.
A little gold to give you a taste for it.
Ah, and we find the Queen of Dust.
Noble causes turn to rotten enterprise. You may win this battle and send the Queen to her rightful end. Yet, what have you gained in the process?
This Desert Queen is more lethal in battle and harder to kill than a regular bandit. Her blades are sharp and she's frequently protected by a powerful crossbow. So lots of dodging.
Again, a token is at stake.
Looks like 2 tokens are at stake. Well, this is the end boss, basically. And looks like there are 2 other bandits to deal with, so I might just punch the... I just might punch the other bandits so I can focus on the Queen of Dust. I'm definitely feeling the effects of the... slower movement speed. Nope. So basically, when you see the Queen of Dust do that red attack, it's something that can't be dodged. I have no reaction skills whatsoever. Damn it! I was too busy focusing on the crossbow. Alright, I thought a shield bash would actually stop her attack there, but didn't turn out. Again, I'm not that worried about conserving health because once I beat her, this encounter's over. I guess I need to kill the crossbow then? Yes, the slow motion effect as I beat an inanimate object. Oh yeah, and I collect it. Oh, thanks, Firex. I wasn't even paying attention, so... Looked at the achievement, Master Combatant, complete 3 combats in a single run without taking any damage. Okay.
Inevitable, I suppose. So often those who beat plowshare to sword die by the grim instruments of their industry. Still, she fought well and bravely, which is all I expect from my pawns and players.
Alright, so I don't know what the deal is with the goblet. The goblet upgrades. Stronger counterattacks. Your counterattacks do more damage. Increased stun. Your stunning attacks now render enemies dazed for longer. New starting gear. Your starting equipment has been upgraded. Bandit strength increased. Bandits have had their strength increased. Skeleton strength increased. Skeletons have had their strength increased. Bandit throwing knives. Bandits have throwing weapons. So basically, my character has become a little bit more sophisticated, but the opponents are matched as well. This is actually kind of an interesting take on the trading card or the collectible card game sort of feel of this, which is almost like getting a balance patch, you know, partway through the game.
You have earned the first of the symbols of my power and passed the first gate. There is no turning back.
Oh, you're fighting for the stuff on this
Previously,
table.
I was merciful, but now I cannot be. It is begun. I crafted each of these cards over the course of years. You have taken them from me in mere moments.
So this is when you say that you're playing for like a sigil, this is what you get. For dealing with the helpful priest, you receive gain, so health potion, in this case it's 15 health rather than the 5. Healer's ring, which I'm not clear on what it does. And the charity that appears to be an event. So we'll add the cards. As a reward for defeating my bandit queen, you receive these new cards. Jack of Plague, which I believe is the next boss. Asleep in the Forest, which seems to be an event. Mage's Tower, which is almost certainly an event. And Field of Poppies. And finally, as a reward for defeating my bandit queen, you receive these new cards. Fleet Cuffs, Armor of Cold, and Huge Hammer.
Come, play again.
And we are back to where we started the broadcast. So I know I got a little bit of talking in terms of the transit referendums and stuff like that, and my excuses for not showing up on time. I was originally going to finish at midnight, which is basically now, but an hour and a half doesn't really seem like a sufficiently long time to cast. So, I'm going to leave you guys with a question while I go and take my first break for the evening. I'm just going to get a drink of water, get up and stretch. I definitely encourage you guys to do the same. Please take care of yourselves. But I was going to go through a few different things that I picked up over the Steam sale. If you guys really like Hand of Fate, we can keep playing with that. But, I mean, again, you've seen what the game has to offer. I think this is a really cool game. I like it a lot. I was originally going to plan on showing a few different games that I picked up over the Steam sale or just generally want to play. But if you want me to keep doing this, say so. If you're happy seeing something else, feel free to vote for that as well. But I'm going to be off for just a couple minutes while I get myself some refreshment. Thank you everybody for stopping by. It's always nice to see some new faces in chat. You guys, again, put me in the awkward situation of not really knowing how to react to so many good donations and hosts. But I'm having a lot of fun doing this tonight. So see you guys in a little bit, and we'll be back for more of whatever you think is appropriate.
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
Alright, thank you everybody for your patience. So I don't see much of a consensus one way or the other in terms of content. So I'm gonna put Hand
You
of
have what it takes to defeat the rats.
I'm gonna put Hand of Fate to bed for tonight. I am definitely interested in playing more of this game. But I do see T. Clark says he wants to see what else I got in the Steam sales. So, again, some of these games have been donated. Oh, this is probably just a card for playing. Oh, you know what? I should know better than try and load stuff online while I do this. So, I haven't installed everything from the Steam sale, but I believe the acquisitions that I have were Grim Fandango, Homeworld, although Homeworld is not playable on Mac. Titan Souls was donated by Superior Blaze, which I'm really grateful for. I don't know if I'll play that tonight, but it's one I'm looking for. I'm looking forward to playing. So Grim Fandango, Titan Souls, Endor's donated Massive Chalice, which I haven't installed. What else was there? Hand of Fate, obviously. And then Frozen Cortex, which I've played. Oh, and yes. Maybe I should play the last game that I bought next. Let me just double check what we've got here. Probably should have put on some music while I decide this. So there's a side of me that wanted to show everybody and Frozen Synapse or Synapse. But this is actually a game I've had for quite some time. I think this is a really good game, by the way. But yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do this one. This is, I think, probably one of the best flash sales, which was Crypt of the Necrodancer. I'm appallingly bad at it, though. So the wonderful thing about this one is this is a product of my... Wait a minute. Sorry guys, no Necrodancer. It shuts off my second monitor when I play this. Or actually, hang on. I'll see if there's a borderless window mode, but if there isn't, I can't play this and see chat. Really? So I know there's a windowed mode in the initial options. I'm gonna hold off on Necrodancer because there's gonna be some messing around that I need to do on here. So sorry guys, no Necrodancer tonight. I will do it later though. So, all right. I can do Frozen Cortex again. I can show you Frozen Synapse. What was the other one? I'd have to get my controller, but I'm also willing to do Titan Souls for a little while. Hector would be fun too, but that was one I got just before it went on sale before the Steam sale. It's a horror game, so I'm not entirely sure it's worth it if you're not there from the very beginning. So let's put it between Frozen Cortex, Frozen Synapse, and Titan Souls. Feel free to express your feelings in chat. I'm just going to get up and grab my controller in preparation in case Titan Souls gets picked. But I'm really I quite like Frozen Synapse and Frozen Cortex, so if you want to watch that, I'm going to be very happy to play those two. See you guys in a bit. Please let me know what you'd like to see. Oh god, I've run out of USB ports. That doesn't make any sense. Just a second. All right, looks like there's a consensus for Titan Souls. I will do Necrodancer in the future, but right now it's not an option unless I want to spend like the next 20 minutes messing around with Mac OBS settings. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of messing around to get Titan Souls working, just because I've run out of USB ports on my current streaming setup. But basically, I'm just going to unplug the mouse once I hit the play button. Oh, come on! Titan Souls appears to have the same Necrodancer problem, but it should probably have a more... Alright, doesn't want me to... I think turning it off full screen should be fix that. Okay. I know it's ugly, guys, but I think this is the best we can hope for until OBS fixes its Mac windowed option. Basically, I can do... Oh, Black Dahlia! Sorry, I didn't even notice you there. Thanks for stopping by. All right. So I'm just going to exit the game to see whether or not it's recognizing that I have a controller plugged in now. Now that's a problem. As is the fact that my controller's not being picked. Okay, no controller. Sorry about the Charlie Foxtrot and getting this set up, guys. Let me I know this game is gonna suck without a controller because I've played twin stick style games without a controller before, but we will make do. How do I have 2 deaths in this game? All right, after all that. This again comes to us courtesy of... Oh, I guess I need to change the game too. So definitely love Devolver titles. Very happy to see them. Happy to see their name on this title. And I know none of the controls. Okay, press C to fire. So I think the problem with this is going to be that I believe with the controller you're able to aim and move in different directions. Clearly that is not possible with the keyboard. I did change the title. I also don't see a way to run without initiating a roll. That second one isn't that big of a deal, though, so... Although I definitely see why they strongly recommend a controller for this game. Yeah, Black Dahlia, how did Elite Dangerous go, you filthy casual? So I've seen a little bit of this game before. One thing that really appealed to me was the fact that enemies die with one hit the same way that you do. Well, we've seen my aim. And the only problem I'm going to have with Titan Souls is I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to offer that much commentary other than screaming like a little girl. The main thing that I'm trying to do on this one is I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to aim that effectively against this thing. But if I can at least kind of get it on the backswing like this, I'm just as happy. Alright. Actually, I can probably angle it to... Ah! It jumped. There we go. So yes, apologies to Kite260 if he's still trying to get to sleep, because I have a feeling this is just going to be a whole bunch of profanity and shouting. Oh, achievement unlocked, unknown, because I didn't get the resolution right. We'll just turn the resolution down one. Enjoy the floral background stream. I gotta figure out how to how to do this a little bit better. Dahlia, do you need to be the first person I time out in my chat? All right. So, I don't actually know what the story of this game is. It's a beautiful looking game. I also really like the visual style of it. And I mean, I think you can say that about pretty much any other Devolver title. One of my favorite games to have played this year has been Gods Will Be Watching, which takes the pixel art style, has a gorgeous soundtrack, really interesting story. This one here, I mean, I think the Titan Souls, I think the reference is very clearly invoking part of Dark Souls. I don't know quite what to make of the fact that I seem to be absorbing these creatures' powers. But I definitely think that they're trying to make a game where it's like, you know, very uncompromising in its difficulty, but also very fair. So, profanity, what's that? You don't deserve to be the first time out, Dahlia. I'm saving it for somebody who actually makes me mad. Not that I'm encouraging you to try. Well... Hang on. Did somebody just follow? I've crossed that magnificent 200 follower. Did somebody follow while I was away? Fyrex, I'm very sorry for not saying this earlier. I completely missed the fact that you were following. You are my 200th follower. Thank you very much for doing that. I have no idea. What does that emote say? I hear the nuts at the... I see the nuts at the bottom, but I have no idea what that top word says. Okay, so other than getting completely smashed by this thing... I am no good at this game. No, not a problem, Fyrex. I'm glad you're getting entertained, because I have a feeling that this is going to be... the rest of the night is me just going to get smashed to death by a brain that looks like it appears in my scotch rather than my my computer games. So I saw it was somehow setting things on fire. So yeah, I gotta figure out how to... Like, clearly I need to melt this thing. Ooh. Or maybe I can set my arrow on fire. So one thing, I guess there's a couple things that aren't apparent to me, which is number one, how it decides when it goes on fire. It could just be that I misdiag. It looks like it's every time it hits one of these squares. Question number two is how do I... Oop, don't roll onto the fire. Question number two is how do I incorporate the fire into... melting this thing. Completely ineffective. Ah! Maybe what I should try and do is I'll just throw that somewhere I could possibly... There. Damn it. I was thinking maybe trying the same trick that I did on the previous enemy, which was pull the arrow back to me to get the hit. But that I need to think about how to get it through the fire as well as hit the cube. This is one of the most appealing things to me about this title, is the fact that the boss encounters are effectively highly interactive puzzle games. So I think what I need to do here is do a proof of concept. Oh, come on! I need to just try and get that arrow through the... Okay, yeah, so it definitely catches on fire. So now I just need to find out how to aim it properly. That was the only enemy you were able to defeat in the demo, the ice cube. I've got the idea down. It's just a matter at this point now. It's just a matter of execution. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so I was going to say, this is what made this game so appealing to me, is the fact that the first part is being able to have that moment of exploration to figure out what's going wrong. To be able to diagnose, it's like, okay, well, there's a fire in the middle, and this thing is very clearly an ice cube, so how do I incorporate these two things together? But that's not enough. Like, you have to be able to not do stupid things like what I'm doing, such as forgetting that the X key rolls and the C key fires. And then it's very easy for me to say, oh, clearly I just need to hit the fire. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. That was so unlucky. But yeah, like, it's one thing to have an idea in your head, but this is the kind of game I need to play a little bit more, because I really enjoy things like FPSs, and to be able to get, your reactions down, your, basically the interactive component. Like, this is the one problem that I have with a lot of games that I play, which is they're very thinking heavy games, which I like, but it's there's something that gets missed on the for interactivity when you just play primarily strategy games. Oh, that sucks. Obviously not real-time strategy, which also has its... I'm calling BS on that. This one actually requires me to get my mechanics down, which I'm utterly failing to do. Like Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the mountain. I don't quite know what I was thinking there. You want to play more Men of War with me? I want to play Frozen Synapse with you. But yeah, we should actually make a date for a Frozen Synapse game. I can't remember. Are you part of the... I know you were originally invited to the Wanderlust Adventure groups. Did you act... What the hell? Did you... This is the worst game for me to stream. I love this game, but this is almost the worst kind of game for me to stream, because I'm always looking at chat, and that's like assuming that I'm 100% competent from the beginning. But yeah, I was gonna say, I don't remember if you actually wound up with a copy of Wanderlust Adventures. Maybe I should just finish my thought and then begin the combat. I don't know if you wound up with a copy of Wanderlust Adventures or not, but other than that, that's kind of my only other obligation that I should be a little bit better at. Didn't get a key for the game. You were far too busy at the time. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, we should definitely do some more Men of War. I'll admit, I've not really touched it since the last time I played with you, though, so I'm probably very rusty. Jesus Christ. I think we're at the full point of full regress. I'll say I'll put on my serious face, but let's face it, that's not gonna happen. blew that. I kind of need to rely on its bounces, but I've not quite figured out... Like, it's very simple physics, but for some reason I'm not quite doing it properly. Jesus. Ah. There we go. That's so stupid. Oh well. Yeah, I only have myself to blame on that death. Oh, I didn't know that you could play Men of War in more than one, with more than one player. We should definitely see if we can get more people involved. After all, I don't want you to be the only recipient of sass. Ah, okay. So, reasonably respectable performance last time, and I completely embarrassed myself again. I gotta get the controller thing worked out for this computer, I think. Seriously? You can have 8 people in a game. I'm assuming that's including some kind of a... Like, I'm assuming that's also with people on opposing sides? Yeah, there's a reason I don't play games like this on stream very often. Lots of fail fish. What am I doing? Ah. So yeah, part of this is I've moves that I want to do in my head, and for whatever reason they are not translating into the key movements. Great job, Steam. Give you the refund one day right after the summer sale. Oh, what did you refund, Firex? That was not properly planned. I did so well, what the hell happened? Yeah. I've not heard of shrooms. Oh no, is that the answer in terms of what happened to me? Yeah. Oh, but it's early in development and your PC has problems with it. I spent a lot of time talking about, I don't know what the hell I was thinking there. I spent a lot of time talking about early access on this stream, it feels like, and I think one of the things that disappointed me the most with this... Okay, you know what? The fact that I can climb up there makes me want to see what's going on. Alright, my curiosity has been been taken care of. There's a lot of examples of games which I really enjoy, which have benefited from the early access model. Oop. Nobody saw that. I always get a little too optimistic in terms of the duration of its slide. But to me, like, in the end, people will always be able to people will buy what they want, what they think is worth it, right? And I'm definitely not opposed to the idea of people having choices. But unfortunately, I think the current implementation of early access has a lot of defects, and the purported benefits are not as significant as what people are making them out to be. There we go. Jesus. You only regret one early access game, Kingdom's Rise? Starbound is probably my poster boy for early access game I'm really disappointed with. And I know a lot of people say that the game's getting better. I think it's taken way too long, and I don't think the game resembles much what I originally bought it for. But that's good. Like, the biggest thing is what this has translated into for me is just being a lot more cautious about my early access purchases. And, oh god. And in general, I think, like, the biggest one that I want to see is the best thing that Steam could do for me is to give me an option to filter out early access titles. Because I'm at the point now, if I ever see it in my exploration queue, I immediately knock it out. Don't even bother watching the trailer. And then... the next thing is it would be better if they had... It'd be better if they had some kind of enforcement mechanism. And again, we were talking, I don't think this is the way to go, but sort of this idea of having, like, the money held in escrow, that you only get some of the money up front and that the remainder is delivered when you actually take it out of early access and deliver the final product. Oh, damn it, I thought I could go through it. Basically, I think you can see things like what happened with DayZ, and there's really no consequence for the developers behaving that way, and something, you know, in a way that's clearly at odds with sort of customer-friendly practices. I wonder if I can just pull this arrow. No, I really can't. Sorry, low commentary mode for a second. Oh, that's why I've been dying. The goop slows you. Well, I've probably been dying because I suck, but in addition to that... So yeah, in terms of spinning around and shooting that arrow out, there we go. Alright, here we go. Problems with Kingdom's Rise was that they didn't bring out many updates after 1 year in early access. They changed the combat system completely, but by then it was already too late. Yeah, that's a big one, is that there's a certain point where your audience doesn't have faith in your ability to deliver the product anymore. What happened to DayZ? The main developer of DayZ has left the project and is working on another early access title. And, I mean, in general, the game has just taken so long to, you know, to get anywhere. Xbox is soon offering early access games. You can play them as a demo, so you can test them out with buying. That is a fantastic system, Lord Gosh. I had no idea that they were going to do that, but I think that is the way that it should be done. And I suspect one of the reasons why Valve is now doing refunds is because so many people are getting screwed with early access. And the Stomping Land would be the best example for scamming early access, in your opinion. I've not even heard of the Stomping Land. I should check it out. But, man, what an easy boss. God. One of the things that... By the way, this is one of the things that I like the most about modern pixel art, is to remain true to this idea of, you know, kind of keeping a bit of an 8 or 16-bit aesthetic, but taking advantage of things like, you know, shaking the screen or putting a weird filter on these things or something like that. Like, I really like it when they remain true to the individual visual components, like the sprites or whatever, but they add a certain flair. Dungeon of the Endless does this too. Like, its fire has sort of this, you know how you kind of get like this heat wave? Their fire does that in a pixel art environment, so that kind of interests me. But I'll give you an example of one of the things that really bothers me about the effect that early access has on development. I'm really interested in the game Satellite Rain. I first noticed it in a Unity demo, and I believe it is by the guy who made Syndicate. It definitely feels like Syndicate is a very large influence on that title, and I believe somebody on the original development team is associated with it. Now, I can't help but imagine that Satellite Rain was designed with early access in mind, and that a lot of effort went into the creation of the art assets from the beginning, because it is a very good-looking game, and a lot of the comments that I see about most of the early access stuff is that the game was unplayable as far as any gaming feature was concerned. Now, apparently it's gotten better, but the fact that there is a lot more emphasis placed at the beginning on making an aesthetically appealing product rather than focusing on what makes a game fun is a trend that bothers me. Because in the end, would you prefer... Like, think about what's happening with Killing Floor, right? Killing Floor is a good-looking game, and what they're using early access for is to balance the game out. So you want, you know, the majority of this time being spent... I mean, you could say that's the counterexample that says this is actually the better way to do it, which is, you know, you make all the art assets and then you spend early access balancing out. But to my mind, like, you want to spend a fairly healthy period of time figuring out what mechanics and what parts of the game work. Because in the end, if you have like a bunch of placeholder, you know, characters, either something that you got for free off the Unity store, or, you know, just a little wooden dummy or something like that, to me, you can still make a game that's very fun to play. And at that point, like, for an indie developer, I think that would be ideal too, which is, hey, we've got this really fun game and we'd like to make it look awesome so that we can reach a broader audience. Will you know, the game is enjoyable already, here's the evidence. Now we just want to polish it up for prime time. I think that would be a fantastic way of doing it. And the problem is Kickstarters and early access games simply would not pass with that, because people put a little bit too much emphasis on current appearances, and it's somewhat justified, right? Like, there's something that thank you very much, Ewok Fuzzy Nuts. I know you were angling for followers yourself. It's actually Firex is the individual who pushed me over to 200, so we can thank him. Darkest Dungeon would also be... Darkest Dungeon is a great example. The game is basically finished, but they're using early access to add more features. Yeah, I mean, if you notice too, every patch brings in some new either new gameplay features, a new class, or new rebalancing. So there's a bunch of cheats from like the early version of that game which don't exist anymore, precisely because it existed in early access. But in an example that you can take from film would be, now ignore the plots because one is a very conventional, well, as conventional as a Philip K. Dick novel can be, but one has a fairly conventional narrative and the other is a very indie heavy film. But there's two Richard Linklater films, they're both older, called Waking Life and A Scanner Darkly. A Scanner Darkly is the one that's based off of the Philip K. Dick novel. More cubes. Something tells me that... oh, it won't let me show the mouse on here. This thing on the top is probably the weak point I'm going to need to hit. So excited for the caves with the fishmen. See, I haven't played Darkest Dungeon in such a long time. I need to figure out what the hell's going on in that title. But so before I start this boss fight, I'll talk about this difference between the two, because I think it's instructive in terms of how early access works. So Richard Linklater is a very well known for these kinds of things, independent filmmaker. He started making movies around the time that Kevin Smith did. I believe actually Kevin Smith considers him an influence. Kind of one of the reasons he saw Slacker, which was like Richard Linklater's big breakout movie, and sort of said, well, if this guy could do it, why can't I? And he made like this black and white pure indie off of credit cards called Clerks, and spawned like 2 sequels and all of that. I think everybody knows who Kevin Smith is. But basically, he made this film called Waking Life, and the whole idea behind it was to videotape a bunch of actors sort of doing this thing. It was very similar in style to his first film called Slacker. And sort of it was this movie all about dreams, not a very clear narrative, but lots of interesting little vignettes. And what they would do is they would animate over every single element of the movie. So it was basically a cartoon, but it was rotoscoped. So you would have these actors who are actually, live and acting, and they would they'd animate over it and add special things that make it look very dreamlike. And the rotoscoping wasn't perfect, so you have sort of these sort of shifting, floaty looking kind of atmospheres. If you go and check out on YouTube the trailer for it, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'll just follow up on what Ewok says. You stopped purchasing early access games. You have Arc, but it was gifted. Yeah, I don't think anybody needs to be dogmatic about early access. It's just I think it's important to go in with as much information as you can, which is why I think it's important to discuss early access. Mainly because if you play it before its initial release, you'll not likely return to it. That is definitely true. It's very easy to get burned out on games that are incomplete. It's way too easy to get burned out on games that are incomplete and not being able to enjoy the full experience. Another example too would be something like Rust, where personally, I don't think they have any clue what they're doing with that property. It's just, it was more successful than they were anticipating, and now they're just trying to make it work. And I don't think that is a way to develop anything. But on the visual style thing, so Waking Life, if you check out the trailer, you kind of get an idea of its visual style. And one of the things that they did was they saved on lighting. They didn't really light any of their scenes because they thought the animators would add that in. And what they noticed was that the animators really only dealt with what they were given. So the scenes are all, really flat looking because they don't have any proper lighting. And if you look at that movie, again, everything looks kind of flat. And it's not just because it's animated. If you look at even a Disney animation, there's depth in terms of things like shading in that. There's almost no shading in Waking Life because the raw material didn't have it. And I think they anticipated a little bit too much in terms of what the animators would bring to the table. So for the next film that used that technique, A Scanner Darkly, which has Keanu Reeves in it, I think A Scanner Darkly is actually a really good movie. I think it's a really good book too. But that one, they actually spent money. And apparently they had to fight with the the money people to justify it, because they said, well, you're just going to animate over it. Why don't the animators bring it in? And they said, it's like they won't do it. They'll only work with what they have. So they spent the time lighting the scenes properly, like it was a real movie. And if you compare, I mean, again, it's not necessarily apples to apples, but compare the trailer for A Scanner Darkly to the trailer for Waking Life, and tell me whether or not you can say which one was properly lit in its initial production. So, Rust added random Docker sizes. That's innovation, boys. Well, somebody has to code it. Oh, and Slacker was his second movie. That's why it wasn't the big indie that Clerks was. What was like? Yeah, well, I mean, Clerks is also Slacker is not a. I have a DVD for it. I never got like a Blu-ray player, but Clerks is a comedy. Clerks is a very accessible film. Slacker is what you think about when somebody says an indie film, right? I think it's good. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a really interesting movie to watch. I mean, it's obviously a product of the early 90s, but I like it. It's interesting. I think Linklater's actually a really interesting filmmaker. But where I was going with this whole story was basically, so this idea of, the ideal, in my opinion, would be to focus on making a good game and then bring the visuals in after, prove that this game is fun, and then use the additional revenues to hire some artists. The one problem with that is, maybe the developer is going to lose sight, and all of a sudden those temporary art assets become permanent art assets. So that's the Linklater problem, right? You don't light your scenes properly, and all of a sudden your animators don't do that. And then, of course, number two, which is us as consumers, which is we don't know whether or not the developer is actually going to use the money to develop the art assets. Even if they do say, it's like, we're doing this specifically so we can hire some professional modelers to make this game look awesome. Where's the concept art? Where's, how do we know that we're going to like this aesthetic? I mean, Valve, for crying out loud, took almost a year to remodel Faceless Void because they decided to make the remodel for a Dota 2 hero, a completely open vote, and they didn't change the model at all. They just slightly retextured it and added a few extra polygons. It was a complete waste. So, Clerks is a more marketable film to represent it in. I agree completely. You've never heard of these films? They're old. Clerk. I'm surprised you haven't heard of Clerks, to be honest. Well, that's what I get for starting the combat a little too early. Mr. Pornstar, how's it going? But yeah, I think it's a bit of a tortured analogy that I made there, but that's to me, I think the incentives are all wrong in terms of early access. And I know Valve says they think that's how games should be developed. So basically I need to jump out of each. I need to wait till it's one block away and then dive away. Although I still don't know how I shoot the arrow in that case. All right, that's encouraging. There we go. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you haven't heard of Clerks just because Kevin Smith has become such a household name. You've probably heard of the movie Dogma, which again isn't necessarily that recent, but it seems to be pretty popular. And that Clerks was basically that filmmaker's first movie. Besides not revisiting an early access game, your other gripe is when they announce another game. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a couple things to say about that. The way game production works is there are definitely different phases in which different people work. So in one sense, I can get behind that to a degree. But honestly, I think like so if you have a studio full of people and you want to keep everybody employed, which I think is a good practice, right? If you have an awesome team that works together, keep them together, and that means you need to keep people on staff. You need to keep paying them. But man, you had better be hitting your deadlines. Like, it's completely unacceptable to take a bunch of people's money, start a second project where you're doing the same thing, and then fail to deliver on time. So a good example of this would be In Exile, which did Wasteland. Oh, that was the other game I got on the Steam sale, is Wasteland 2. So you've got In Exile, doing a new Wasteland game, and then before that's entirely complete, they're starting to make Torment. But they were upfront. It says the reason we're doing a Kickstarter for this right now is that this is the work that's been done. We have people who are either going to be let go or otherwise not working on this Wasteland product, and instead we would like to use them to work on this thing here. And if you think it's worth it, then you can buy this, which I think is the way to go. Again, like from an HR point of view, there's a bit of a reason why you would want to do it in that form, but I mean, again, that I believe that even at that level, I think you need to earn that. You need to show that you're actually using those resources well. I will say, one of the things I love the most about this game is, like, when you're going to win a fight. Like, there've been a bunch of these where I'm like, you know what, I'm doing okay, I'm jumping around, but this is not gonna work out. And when I got this one, I knew, like, as soon as I saw the position that it had, I'm like, okay, this is done. So this is an incredibly satisfying. So, Superior Blaze, thank you so much for this game. I'm having a blast with it. I hope you guys are too. I know I'm spending a lot of time talking rather than playing, and I'm not very good at it. So I sometimes, have a little bit too much dead time. But I don't know. I hope you guys are getting something out of this. I think this is a very enjoyable game. I think Devolver, again, has succeeded in making titles that... Devolver is kind of continuing its track record of playing, or making games, or publishing games that I really enjoy. I don't even know if I would have bought this on my own. Alright, so I think he's hiding, like, his heart. Oh, damn it. Okay, so there's a small window where that happens. Oh, that sucks. Okay, I think I sort of get it, but I'm not quite sure. I have to be really on point with my timing. Shio, hey, how's it going? You rather watch a stream where the streamer does more talking than playing the opposite. Well, I mean, I also have a small advantage in my really low bitrate. Like, obviously, this stream is not watched for its visuals, so that affords me a little bit more. It affords me a little bit more flexibility in terms of the content, just because of my limitations. All right, so trying to jump in front of the hands, but that just results in me getting crushed. So I obviously know this again. So this is a really interesting example of how this game works, which is the parameters of the puzzle are very well defined, but the implementation is really tricky. Maybe I do need to hit this on an angle. So let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, actually, this is an interesting thing. So I rolled into the hand and it didn't do anything. It's only if I roll behind the hands. You don't see that in your chat feed? Sorry, Dahlia, I'm missing. I probably said a comment that says that probably makes that make sense, but I'm slow of the brain. And T. Clark, I see you have a message. I'm going to do my best to kill this boss here, so I will get back to you momentarily. See, I think I need to hit this thing on an angle. Alright. Well, at least I can read the message. The thing to keep in mind with game development is that we'll get to a point where certain members of a team, such as artists, will have next to nothing to do and will be sitting around doing nothing rather than cutting those people loose. It's perfectly understandable to put them on another project to start development on. And that's agreed. So I think I was trying to communicate that with the In Exile example. Sorry if that wasn't clear enough. But again, the biggest thing that I need to be clear on is that even with that very legitimate HR reason, Jesus Christ, I think the responsibility is still for the developer to demonstrate that they are actually using those resources properly. There's a lot. I mean, there's obviously going to be delays as part of producing a game. That's just, the nature of the beast, and I'll grant them that. But I think it, like, how do we find out when a studio is legitimately running into production delays, or or is just kind of screwing up and not using the resources properly? Like, I can kind of make the claim that So there's definitely promise to the fact that I'm staying around the edge and it can't reach me, but I'm not quite sure how I leverage that into a kill. Especially with the keyboard, where I don't get precision in my aiming. Yeah, like the biggest thing is that at what point can I turn to a developer and say, you guys are not, you guys have taken a bunch of money, you are not delivering on time, and I know that you have people that you don't want to let go, but it seems like we're just funneling more and more money into these projects that aren't getting done. Like, I have something I've backed on Kickstarter, which actually has, they're not video games, they're board games, but they actually have 2 other Kickstarters in the works. They've not finished the first one, and the total number of Kickstarters that they've made is actually 7. See, I'm a little mystified as to how I deal with the hands. I think I just need to go for it once they do a shuffle. Oh, damn it. Okay, so I can't be too close, otherwise the heart isn't open long enough. That timing. I guess the other thing that I need to say about the HR argument as well is, like, in the end, the studio is theirs to run. Like, in part, we just need to stop funding studios that don't deliver. The problem is how... I mean, in the end, every dollar that you spend on a game, and that's in early access, is a dollar that could have gone to some other studio that maybe has more consumer-friendly practices. And it's a really difficult little minefield to navigate. So I keep bumping into these hands and getting smushed. Now. So I think I get how to provoke a shuffle from it, or a milling, or whatever you call the changing of the hands. But the angles are all wrong in terms of getting a kill. Well, that was just dumb of me. That first hit, though, I was actually able to get the heart area. So it's not impossible to aim. Damn it. So I'm pretty sure I need to start firing the second that hand lands. Golem reminds you of the Aztec mask box in Legend of Zelda the Minish. You know, the only Zelda game I've played was a... Jesus Christ. There's no excuses for that. That was terrible. I've only played one Zelda game. I liked it. But I need to hand in my nerd card for that. There's a lot of classic titles that I've not tried yet. Run away! Okay, well, right idea, wrong execution. Ah! I always shoot wide. Okay. Starting to get it down. I'm really hoping to make this my last boss of the evening. I don't want to retreat in defeat. Just gonna... Excuse me. Probably need to get the sneezes out before I engage in deadly combat. So maybe that's the other way of doing it, which is to hope that you kill the thing before the fist comes down. Maybe I'll try that. This is so upsetting. I screwed that one up. Damn it. Same here, playing Ocarina of Time for the first time because you got a 3DS this year. That's cool. I actually have a Nintendo DS still. But it's really... I appreciate the difficulty that Nintendo finds itself in, because obviously the mobile phone and the tablet have made it a little less necessary to have a dedicated mobile gaming platform. Although I would argue that the kinds of games that you wind up playing on these mobile phones are not necessarily the same as what you get on a Nintendo product. So personally, I don't quite think they're substitutes, but obviously Nintendo's having enough trouble with mobile that that other people are treating them like they're substitutes. That's a hard target. Yeah, I know Nintendo's done an agreement. Now, what it seems to be is that they are licensing their existing their existing IP rather than translating these games into. So, like, I don't believe I believe they're still avoiding the multi-platform release. Because I mean, in the end, as soon as they do that, then they go the Sega route. Like, no, I don't think anybody would buy a Nintendo if it wasn't the only place you could play Mario Kart. But I do believe that they will be. I think their mobile strategy is that, you know, they'll use some of these really popular brands to make these mobile titles that. I screwed it up. I don't know how you do this. Maybe I just need to go head on. That's really tough. Nintendo, your favorite games on the worst gaming hardware. Yeah. Hey, Adrenal Fox. How's it going? You have stepped into... I don't believe I've seen you here before, so welcome to the stream. Trying Titan Souls for the first time, which is probably abundantly clear given my performance. Damn it. But welcome. We played, before we did this, we were playing Hand of Fate, which was a very enjoyable and decidedly easier game than Titan Souls. Yeah, I'm loving it too, Unreal Vox. The only challenge is that I'm terrible at it. I'm playing on a keyboard right now because, for whatever reason, my controller's not working, as is indeed the full screen capture, which is why you get to see part of my desktop. That's how you found me. Damn it! I still like reading chat better than beating games, but it's always frustrating. Yeah, I got, because I knew I was interested in this game, I didn't watch that many streams of it. What I would usually do is I'd kind of watch the first... If ever I saw somebody I liked playing it, like W. Shand is a good example. I kind of watched the first couple of rounds where he's sort of figuring everything out, and I'm not gonna... Alright, that's embarrassing. Where he's just messing around and doing what I'm doing, which is just dying really quickly. But once I kind of knew I was interested enough in the game that I wanted to pick it up, like, obviously... so much of this game is about the exploration and figuring out how to do it. Like, in this case here, I very clearly know how to get a shot off at the center, but I'm completely failing to execute. So... Jesus. Alright, you have to clean up your apartment now. Hope you're still there when you're finished. Oh, I was kind of hoping to wrap up relatively too soon. So, I don't know whether or not I can share your hope. But, Firex, thank you very much for stopping by the stream. It was great to have you here. Thank you for taking me to 200 followers, which is not a big deal for a lot of people, but it definitely means a lot to me, especially given that I suffer a lot of technical limitations. If I don't get to see you for the rest of the evening, enjoy cleaning your apartment and hope to see you again soon. Also, playing on a Mac is amazing. I can think of a lot of adjectives for Mac gaming, and amazing usually isn't one of the... Okay, I don't know what the hell I was thinking there. Amazing is usually not the first thing that comes to mind when I think about Mac gaming. This is, I mean, a laptop I got for school, so don't really have a dedicated streaming PC, save for the fact that this is a fairly good laptop. But there's definitely limitations. You know, all the quick kill strats, but it still requires the right timing, which is everything. Yeah, like the thing that I like the most is that there's phase 1, which is like, how does this thing work? And then phase 2, it's like, okay, well, I've got a very clear game plan in my head. How do I execute on it? Which is, I think, it's really why... I think it's why this is so enjoyable. Jazzpoo, how's it going? Jazzpoo is... we've had a lot of streamers in tonight, actually. Jazzpoo is also another streamer, recently started, but also moderates Black Dahlia, who is at least hanging out here for a little while longer. Or not longer, but was hanging out here for a little while. What were you playing tonight, Jazzpoo? Jesus Christ. What were you playing tonight? I really need to shut up when I do these things, but I don't know. I like interacting with chat a little bit more, so... They also lied to you about bosses being one hit. Really? All the bosses I've encountered have been one hit. I guess I'll find the more than one hit boss. And I will be one salty MFer as soon as I find them. So I'm thinking I have to hit this thing dead on, because it's like, I felt I've been accurate enough. Oh, some have phases. Okay, that's fair. You're playing Donkey Kong 64 and Crypt of the Necrodancer. See, I tried to do Crypt of the Necrodancer, and unfortunately it doesn't have a good windowed mode. Well, I mean, this isn't a great windowed mode either, but basically I couldn't do Necrodancer without losing chat, and obviously, to me, chat is a bit more important. There we go. Easy boss, easy life. You have to break them down first in order to get to the weak spot. Ah, yeah, so that I'm okay with. So like the first slime boss is a good example where you have to cut it in half. I'm okay with the idea of a boss having something that is protecting their weak spot. And if it just happens to mean that you have to break them into some pieces, I'm okay with that. Because in the end, the distinction is just that you're a character without armor. But I say that now when I haven't gotten sufficiently salty on a boss, so we'll see. Yeah, that sounds right. Capturing the game in windowed mode is a pain, but I think it's possible. So when I capture things in windowed mode on the Mac, it becomes unwatchably stuttery, which is a damn shame. It's why I couldn't do Dota for the longest time, because it took me so long to finally figure that out. But once I did, I wasn't actually having some problems. Achievement unlocked, out of the frying pan. I think I'm going to get to a save spot and call it for tonight. I'm a little bit shorter than my normal stream time, but I definitely, like, I also began quite late, and as much as I'd like to make the full duration, I kind of need to get some stuff done. I should actually, so there's only a very small chance that this will happen, but Jinya, you'll know who Jinya is if you are Jinya. Are you watching by any chance? I don't think you would be, but okay, I'm hoping. So basically, one thing that I am doing, I still get occasionally very kind comments in terms of my my recorded voice, which definitely sounds quite different from my live voice. But because I get these kind comments about my capacity for narration or commentary, I had a friend who had a birthday recently. And she's, I mean, somebody I've known for a while, quite fond of them, and is very busy. So where I've taken this academic route, and I'm doing, I'm doing the econ degree and basically not working. She went to the private sector and is doing very well for herself. But what that translates to is basically not a lot of time either to interact or even to just do fun stuff. Obviously, like, I find time for my fun stuff through streaming. But I thought one really great way of giving a gift is because, I mean, she works in the private sector and I have at least a passing interest in finance. I decided to take a book which I'd recommended to her but was very unlikely that she'd read just because of time, and do a proper, like, audio recording of it. So you know how you can get books on tape? Basically, I thought it would be good to give a gift which is kind of acknowledging the time. So it's easier to put something, on in the car, or to put on some headphones and listen to a narrated book than it is to sit down and take the time to read it. So did I record a sexy happy birthday song? No, I definitely can't record sexy happy birthday songs. Oh, the game just saved. But still please play. Oh, I don't think I can. I'll finish this. Tell you what, I'll at least wander around looking for bosses. If I find bosses in the time it takes me to finish telling the story, I'll consider it. I really need to wrap up. But so yeah, basically, long story short, I decided to. Record sort of this audiobook on a topic that I thought would be worthwhile. Sort of this idea of acknowledging... the kinds of gifts that I like giving are ones that reflect the individual person, both in terms of their tastes, but also their circumstances. So if I have somebody who is, a professional and is having, enjoys reading, enjoys these kinds of topics, but is having difficulty finding the time engaging with these ideas, an audiobook is a great option. But I think another great way of doing this is to take it one step further and completely personalize it by making it an audiobook that I've recorded for them. Now, the drawback with this approach is that it takes a lot of effort, because if you screw up a sentence, it's really apparent. So, you have to go back, you have to re-record that sentence and keep going. It's a very time-consuming process. So at the end of each broadcast, I've been trying to record at least a chapter or half a chapter, but I've fallen behind already, so try one more, go right or anywhere. So I have a book tape with my voice. Yeah. So that's kind of the idea. And again, this is partially your guys' fault for saying that I have a nice voice. Yeah, I thought, I would have, normally I would have just gotten an audiobook, because I think it's a book that you'll really enjoy. But after hearing all these nice things about my narration, I thought maybe, and especially because this is somebody who I see a lot less than we'd like because of, our respective duties in academia or in accounting. I thought it'd be a nice way of giving something, unique. All right. I know I'm getting closer to bosses, but I am a voice of gold with a personality of coal. Screw you, Jazzboo. No, I know you're just kidding. I hate to do this, especially for you, Andriel Vox. I know you just came to the stream. I am feeling done for tonight. I as much as I want to do another boss, I know that starting a boss means that I'm not going to want to finish the encounter until the end. Like, I'm going to want to beat it, and I will either find the boss ridiculously easy, at which point I'm not, not spending that much time on it, or it's going to be like another hour of casting. So, but with that in mind, feel free, if I haven't completely disappointed you by dropping this game, feel free to follow. We will definitely go back for some more. We will definitely come back to Titan Souls, if you are inclined to following the stream. Obviously, I do my best to solicit, but if this is the only thing you're interested in, I definitely do variety. For those, I'll maybe just I'll wrap up by explaining the stream, because we did have a few new people who came in here. This is a variety stream. I will guaranteed cast on Mondays and Fridays. Fridays are dedicated to the game Crusader Kings 2, which is a fairly complicated game, but one that has a fairly dedicated fan base, which likes to have a regular day for streaming. I'm definitely liking Titan Souls, so we'll be coming back to it. And ideally, I'm going to do more than just Mondays and Fridays, but recently, because of some of the research work that I've had to do, there's been less time for casting. So I want to take a minute to thank everybody who... Awesome. Thank you very much for saying that, Andriel. Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, if I try to announce what I'm going to do on Twitter if I know ahead of time, so I will definitely do more Titan Souls. I don't have a dedicated day for the variety stuff, other than, Monday will be a game that's not Crusader Kings 2. But, you should have recorded yourself reading a game manual, do it on stream, that way you could have killed two birds with one stone. She is not a gamer, actually. I'm going to try and get her on stream at one point. But, no, not a problem, Lord Gosh. It's always fun having you guys in here. Oh, we'll definitely be raiding somebody, so I'll wrap up the stream, because I've definitely got some thank yous to hand out. So, first of all, very special thank you to Superior Blaze, who gifted this game to me. In addition, he gave a very generous donation today as well. Firex took us to 200 follows, so very happy for that. But more importantly, I'm very glad that all of you guys stopped by for the stream today. I know it was really disorganized in terms of getting started, and if you want, you can go back and watch the beginning of the VOD to hear about the transit situation in Vancouver and why that is. Really like the games that I played. So today it was Hand of Fate and Titan Souls, both great games picked up in this Steam sale. Obviously Steam sale is done, so there's no longer discounts, but I would say both of these games are worth the price of admission on their own. Finally, I'd like to thank Kite260, Jesse Quill, and Halex1316 for their host tonight. Extremely generous of them to do that. These are all individuals who have 200? I need more than that? Have a good night, Andriel Vox. Well, whether or not I need more than that, people will follow if they like it. My commitment is to come and stream as regularly as I can, do the best that I can each time that I stream. And hopefully those qualities, allow me to match with people who see the same themselves. Quick point on T. Clark. So one of the things that I'm trying to do this summer is to get some of my the majority of my friends in real life are non-gamers, and they do not understand Twitch at all. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is get them to play games, live for you guys. I haven't had any takers yet. But that is something that I'm planning on doing in the Verge. But that's something that's in the work. I will announce that well ahead of time, obviously. But I definitely am working on some extra stuff for this stream to do. But finally, as I promised Jaspoo, the last thing that I could do is take all of the generous support that you guys have given me by being in chat, giving me something to interact with. This is one of the things that I love the most, is that I'm in a Vancouver Twitch streamers group, and also with my duties for Seriously Clara, I have to review a lot of streams when they apply for membership to Team Panda, which is a group that I'm a member in. You can see the link just above me, or just below the title, rather. But, a really common thing that comes up is interaction with chat, and I sometimes appreciate what some of the streamers are running into, which is they say, well, people don't interact in chat, so I don't have much to talk with, and they, we always keep saying, and this is what I did when I had an empty chat, is to always keep talking, right? There's always something to say, let your personality come through. But one of the things that I am always grateful for, and I think you guys spoil me for above all, is the fact that when there are people in the channel, like when I look at the number of people who are watching and the number of people who are participating in chat, it's a very, very high ratio of people inside chat and people who are talking in chat. And I think that is a tremendous gift that you guys are giving me, because I really like it talking with you guys, and I love to hear your views either about what we're talking about or the game. The fact that you give me something to respond to, one, kind of makes my job easier, but number two is one of the reasons I like doing this. I will definitely keep talking even if there's nobody in the channel. But the fact that you guys are bringing something of yourself into the broadcast, in my opinion, makes the broadcasts better. If I'm not doing my best, then people interacting with each other in chat are still gonna have a good time. So I never want to take that for granted. And while I certainly want to give the special thanks to the people who are hosting and donating, one of the best gifts that you can give me is your continued participation in chat. So thank you very much for doing that. And with that in mind, I'm going to make sure that I pass this level along, and let's find somebody to host for tonight. I think we will... we don't have anybody doing Titan Souls, so how about we host Alaskan Savage? I don't think I've hosted him for a while, so... Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a great night. We will see you Friday at the bare minimum, but hopefully sooner than that. Have a good night.